Hey mamas, so this is Mama Confession Monday, and this is episode 3. I got a few comments, and thanks for everyone who's been watching and subscribing. I got a couple of comments about, grief and how do you handle grief, and how could my kids not remember my husband, their dad, if there's pictures and things like that that they can look through, to talk a bit about that. My husband was Musqueam. That first year when they pass, for the people on this side, it's really important that you let them go so they don't feel that they have to linger here and stay here and watch over us all the time and feel guilty to go on to their next journey. So part of what they do here is they cover their pictures. So, and it's like that for a year. And in some cases, if you're really traditional, you cover it for 4 years. And I can insert a picture of the wall that's right in front of me here. The whole bed sheet is covering the wall because Terry's in almost every single one of these pictures. But the idea is, by covering the picture, you help let them go, and you don't make them want to stay. And it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. But for me, with little children, I know it's hard for them to not see pictures of their dad, and to, when they say that they're forgetting what their dad looks like or that sort of thing, we just kind of end up relying on me to describe him and his stories, things that made Terry Terry, and which I'm happy to do. And it kind of goes along with one of the blog's posts that I wrote about how I grieve in front of my children, because when they see me cry, they don't avert their eyes, they don't pretend it's not happening, they don't get uncomfortable. They come over and they hug me, or they pat my back or rub my back. Even their mannerisms, their voice, it gets more gentle and more calm, and they understand when I'm going through a hard moment, and sometimes I might say, like, I need some space, and they totally get it, they're not offended. Or sometimes sometimes I crack a joke or tell them a funny story about their dad, and we laugh through the tears. Sometimes people say, like, oh, don't burden your children with your sadness or your problems and that sort of thing. And I get it. I get that to an extent. My mom used to tell me all her hardships and all the things that were really hard for her, not only like at that moment or what she was going through, but like when she was a child, and how things were hard for her, and I can see how that would burden a child. But it also gave me a really good perspective about seeing things from another person's point of view growing up. I still had moments where I thought of myself, of course, but there would be other moments where I would look at it and like a bowl of rice, like eating rice. And I would think, like, how much rice helped my mom's family survive when money was really, really tight. Or how my mom would tell me, you know, to help out, she would get her and some of her siblings to go onto like the street, and they would perform, dance and sing and perform for a little extra money so that she could get something for her siblings, or get some extra food for dinner. Or my mom used to tell me, she used to have her coffee with evaporated milk or condensed milk, and I used to wonder why she did that. And she would let me and my brother have a little bit of her coffee. Like, she would dip some of her the Filipino bread called pandesal, and she would dip it in her coffee with the evaporated milk, and she would give it to us. And I remember thinking, like, I thought coffee was bad for children. Why did you give that to us? And she would say, like, that when things were tough and times were hard, getting fresh milk was like a luxury. Like, you couldn't get that. And so evaporated milk, condensed milk was what they had on hand. And her mom used to dip her pandesal in the coffee, or the tea, mostly coffee, with the evaporated milk, and she would give some to each of the children so that they would get some sort of milk, some sort of calcium. So it gave me a perspective, and it made me understand that I shouldn't take things for granted, and my mom's human, and she's not always going to be happy, and sometimes she's going through hard times, and I have to be understanding and try not to make things harder for her. Conversely, like, my kids understand when I'm having a hard time, or when I'm having a moment where I'm right in the thick of my grief. Things aren't going right, the kids aren't listening, there's dishes to do, there's laundry to fold, there's garbage and clutter to pick up, and there's always garbage and clutter and dishes and laundry. It's like a never ending, especially with having multiple kids. And sometimes, and I just said it, I think just a few days ago, last week, I said, that's it, I give up. And I shut down, because I can't do much more. There's only so much I can scream and yell before my voice just gets raspy and I can't talk anymore. And I've had these talks with my kids, and I said, first off, when I yell, kind of be happy, be thankful I'm yelling, because that means I have fight in me. That means I am not giving up. That means I want us to get through this hard lump of whatever it is, like a messy house, a cluttered everything. When I yell, it's because I'm sort of rallying my energy to say something's not right and we need to fix it, and I have a fight in me. It's when I go silent and I don't want to talk anymore, and I shut down, that things have gone too far. My buttons have all been pushed. I've hit the bottom of my sanity, and I've shut down as a way to stop. And I've explained that to my kids, and when they've pushed me far enough, and I get to that point where I say, you know what, I give up, I've had enough, that's it, and I go silent, they know they've screwed up and that they've pushed me too far, and they figure out ways to make it better, in the sense of, like, listening maybe for the 100th time, me yelling something like, pick up your garbage. Throw it actually in the garbage, not around the garbage, not close to the vicinity of the garbage, not tucked in the cushions of the couch, actually in the garbage. My son said to me the other day, my 5-year-old, because I said that, I said, I give up, I'm done, I've had enough. And then I went into my room because I just needed some time. And my 5-year-old came in the room and he said, Mama, I love you. And he said, I know what it means when you're not talking. When you're not talking, it means that you're actually crying inside and you need a hug. And I don't know if I actually worded it ever that way, but he understood what I meant when I've said, I give up, I've had enough. And that helps. I'm sure someone will say that it's not fair to put that on a child. But I also think if they grew up with me always being happy, never showing any emotion of sadness or anger or frustration, that they would be uncomfortable with that growing up and not understanding how to comfort somebody when they're going through something tough. That they would avoid it, that they would clam up, that they would walk away, or cover it up in whatever way. And me and my husband, we had lengthy, long talks about how we would raise our kids before we even had kids. And one of the conversations we had was, if we had boys, we have to teach these boys how to be respectful boys that respect women, that give women space to have a voice and to have respect and power and to not be afraid by a strong woman. And my husband agreed, because that's how he is. He was a confident man who has respected women and always made sure that their voice was heard and listened to, and that had weight and strength. And I didn't really grow up like that. My mom was strong, and my mom was vocal, and my mom had strength. And my dad had this belief that women should be in the house doing the housework, and that, yeah, sure, women have a voice, but the men make the decisions. And I remember growing up and being a real tomboy, always in the mud, always playing rough, always playing with my older cousins, and my older brother. And I was just such a scrappy kid. And I loved playing sports. And my dad hated it. I remember him saying, it would be okay if you were a boy, but you're not a boy. I wish you were a boy. And he didn't want me to play sports. And he didn't want me to do boy things. And it just got worse once I got into high school. I loved playing soccer, but I loved PE. Not so much the running. Gosh, don't get me wrong, I hate running and stuff like that. But I love the sports. And I remember coaches, my PE teachers and stuff, they were all kind of huddled together, and they said, if you could just go on our team, I'm sure we could get you a partial scholarship somewhere through sports. And that was amazing to me. I was blown away, but I had to say no. I was like, I know my mom and I know my dad, and they're not going to let me. Not because my mom was sexist or anything, not like my dad. My mom was more like, when you hurt, I hurt. So if you hurt yourself, it's like tenfold on me. And I never used to understand that. I used to be like, what? No, it's my body. If I'm hurting, I swear to God, I'm probably the one in more pain than you. But now that and she would say, when you're a mom, you'd understand. And I kind of understand it now. But then there's that guilt, using it as a tool. So, bringing back round, I wanted to make sure my boys were respectful to women, and that they don't fear strong women, and women who have a voice, and women who make decisions and stick with them. And I think that's partly why I love this Musqueam culture so much, because it was a warrior society, and the men were up front, but the men were up front because they were expendable, and they kept the women and the elders and the children behind the men, not because they weren't strong, but because they were the most valuable things in the village. Women were the life bringers, the knowledge keepers, the storytellers. They were the ones that made sure that the lineage continued, that made sure the stories and the cultural knowledge and the histories of the people continued. And in this Musqueam culture, the men were the speakers. But it was the women that were telling the speakers what to say. There is such strength in that, and I just didn't feel like I had that in my Filipino upbringing. It was very, men make the decisions, women listen. Men take care of the money, women raise the children. And I didn't want that growing up. I didn't want to find a man like that. I looked for the opposite. And I found it. I found it in Terry. And it redefined not so much my understanding of what strength in a man is, but I think it redefined, maybe for my family, what real strength in a man is like. Not someone who could, I hear my baby. Not someone who could lift a car, but someone who could stand by a strong woman and help raise children, change diapers, do laundry, as well as, take care of the household. And in my husband's case, he went fishing and hunting, and he provided for our family, but he wasn't afraid to, help brush my niece's hair when she was little, and help do her hair. And I've kind of resigned myself that I'm not ever going to find something like that again. But I can comfort myself that I can help raise my kids to be like that. That I was gifted with 3 boys. That I could help be strong men. Hi. And I'm back. And with less tears, I had to go put my son back down. He has not been napping very well. or sleeping very well. Ooh, and my battery is going to die. 1 second.
Hi everyone, so I'm going to stop it here because it's going to be way too long, and I will do part 2 on Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Bye.